Joe presents TKO, together with 32 Red.
Hello everybody, welcome to round 9 of TKO here on Joe together with 32 Red. We're a podcast and YouTube show and we'll be with you every Thursday. Now it's no secret there have been a lot of high profile retirements in the last 8 or 9 months. We've had Anthony Gogo, James DeGale, George Groves, Tony Bellew and the man in the studio with us today, the former cruiserweight unified champion of the world and the heavyweight champion of the world, David Haye. Thank you for coming to see us.
My pleasure.
How have you been?
Yeah, good. Been healthy, looking after myself, playing a lot of poker. Yeah, just enjoying life. Not at the moment. I've got this big challenge playing in Goliath in Coventry in the beginning of August, and I'm the face of it. It's big, second biggest poker tournament outside of.
So you're the David in the Goliath.
So I'm the David. I'm the David going up against Goliath. So what they're doing, they're flying me around the world, training with all the best poker players in the world. I'm playing 2 or 3 tournaments a week, just really trying to, because if there's a challenge, I want to do as best as I can at it. So I'm playing. If you want to,
it's a great gig when you retire, isn't it?
Yeah. So I'm just going around playing a lot of poker.
Good
and
stuff.
the good thing is, it's not my money I'm playing with as well.
Is it not?
Yeah, exactly. So.
That's a touch. You can be proper reckless.
No, but if you're reckless, you're out. You can't just keep chucking money into it. These tournaments you get your chips, and once they're gone, you're out.
Yeah, okay.
So I have to play strategically. I have to try to. I'm getting there bit by bit. I'm so much better than I am now than I was like 5-6 months ago.
How good are you on the scale of if 0's like the first time anyone's ever played, and then 100's like the top pros? Where would you say?
I'd say I'm about 65.
Okay.
I'm about 65 at the moment. For instance,
could have done a scale of 0 to 10 as well. It's easier than.
Thanks for that, Carl. Yeah, great stuff. Well, that's great. That's one for the edit, isn't it? So, cheers, lad. And I found out about 10 minutes ago that another one of your table tennis rivals. There seems to be no end to these guys.
The stat is at the minute I'm unbeaten at table tennis against any
so
other
arrogant about this.
Any other boxer. No one boxer's ever beaten me.
How you make a gymmy with a car park? So we got a table tennis. And we were playing, and he just ran it. To the point where we actually got a professional tennis player, table tennis player, to like come in and pretend she was working with us just so we could get beat. It didn't actually happen, but yeah, still undefeated.
That'd been
by quite clearly. Quite clearly. It's just the reflexes. I tell you what, it's that little touch you got.
I'm the right build for table tennis.
Well, yeah, because a bat to you's massive, whereas a bat to David's sort of like.
He does stand on the table when he does it. That's the difference. He's doing it for
sort of Sabutio for Carl, basically. Oh man, we need to get this round robin.
I played Ronald McIntosh, who was hitting his head on the roof.
6'9", I think. 6'9", 6'10".
He was definitely at a disadvantage, but
he was playing Sabutio, sort of thing. He was on his knees.
Oh boys, right. We've actually got to start talking about something of any merit here. So you had a career that spanned 3 decades from amateur to your last fight.
Yeah,
that's a long time, given that you're only 38. Good.
38 now.
So
that sounds strange saying it.
Yeah.
38.
How do you feel in your body? Because you had so many injuries.
I feel, sounds crazy, I feel amazing. I feel as good as can ever remember. Physically, I can run, I can jump, I can play basketball, I can do all the things I wasn't able to do whilst I was actually competing. I was always had some crazy injury. I was always worried that my back was going to go, I was going to turn my ankle. Now, for instance, while I was boxing, I'd get out of bed in the middle of the night and literally I could barely stand up straight. I'm hunched over. Both my Achilles are killing. I'm like hobbling around like an old man. Now I'm jump up and right as rain. It's like my body's just gone, just relaxed, and it's given me that time just to rejuvenate. And I feel way younger than I did do for my last probably 6-7 years as a competitive boxer.
It's interesting, that.
Yeah, I feel better. Hopefully
I start to feel like that soon.
Right on the cusp of father time.
I always thought, whilst I was boxing, once I finished boxing, I'm just going to be in complete bits. I always thought, if it's this bad now, whilst I'm fit and while I'm training all the time, eating healthy, and how bad is it going to be once I've retired? Yeah. But for some reason, it's gone the complete opposite, and I feel better than ever. It feels like I'm fresh, but I know. If you started putting the volume on yourself that you did, the body would just break down. Because the body will break down. I'm fit and healthy for a regular civilian. For a regular person who needs to run around, play some tennis, go play a bit of basketball, play a game of football, I'm fine. But if I want to start stepping into world class, any type of arena, something's going to snap, something's going to pop. My body's told me you're done at this level,
Enough's
son.
enough.
This is it. Enough's enough, and I respect that now. I think the last couple of injuries was my body saying that's it. And I snapped my bicep and my Achilles like in a 6-month period, and that's like 2 bad injuries for a boxer. So time to call it quits.
Because you had an injury going into Commonwealth Games when you were a lot younger, 2002.
I've been plagued with injuries. I think the reason why I've been so injury prone is because I'm so sort of dynamic and explosive. Everything I do is 100%.
You've done your hamstring, haven't you?
I've done my just because I can run. Most people can't pull their hamstring. I can get up now and generate so much force running that my hamstring, maybe not both of them, but one of them will tear. But most people can't explode that much to tear it.
You're fast twitch, basically.
Very, very much fast. And it's worked great in the ring because it means I can go from here, bang, knock people out without trying. But the downside is the force generated. His biceps tear, rotator cuffs, everything seems to pop. I've done hamstrings so many times, calf, the kid. You just can't generate that much power and not get the downside. So I've got the high knockout ratio, but I've got the high injury rate.
That's interesting.
So I'm kind of happy how it worked out, because, the fact that I was been able to knock so many people out over the years meant I didn't have the ring time, meaning I didn't take that many punches. So my career's been able to go on longer, whereas someone who couldn't punch so hard and had to go 10, 12 rounds every time, that's when the damage is accumulated.
It's interesting.
It kind of balanced itself out.
I think those attributes of explosivity and the speed of your movement and that power at cruiserweight was one of the reasons why, as not an enormous guy, you could step up. Because we were talking about Alexander Usyk moving up as somebody that is special and unique in that cruiserweight division. And in order to mix it with the real giants as they are these days, because the old heavyweights weren't that much bigger than you, really.
I'm the same size as Ali.
Yeah, Foreman was 6'4". People think of Big George, but these days he wouldn't have even been.
He was at 215 pounds when he fought Ali, and he was considered a monster at the time. And in today's time, he was, he'd be considered a very, let's say, take 15 pounds off and go and fight in the cruiserweight division.
The difference between David and Usyk is David has always been a serious puncher, and he's been athletic and he can move around. Usyk's more of a mover, like fluid mover. But you could put the big heavyweights over. Like, he's the only man that ever really hurt Valuev, who was
got amazing 12th round
giant. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Speaking of David and Goliath, I mean, that was your coming out party at heavyweight, really, wasn't it? You had one fight before that.
I had one fight against a guy called Monty Two Guns Barrett, who was like a top 10 ranked heavyweight at the time. It was my first.
Did he fall coming into the ring?
He ran into the ring, because I was in a change room and it was at the O2 Arena, and it was my first fight, thinking, okay, it's South London. I had won the cruiserweight unified for the belts against Enzo Maccarinelli in that same venue the fight before, so I thought, this is all my people going to be here. And I'm in a change room waiting to come in, and I heard this big roar, and I'm thinking, where does this guy get all these fans from? I was like, how does anyone know who he is? He's from New York. Anyway, I come out, have the fight, knock him out in 5 rounds. Then afterwards, I realised he ran to the ring, tried to vault the top rope, caught his foot on it, and landed on his head. And you can YouTube that and see that for yourself. But that's why. But it wasn't the raw. Everyone was just laughing. Everyone just sort of cracked up at this guy landing on his head. Wow. So it was a tough fight. He decked me pretty hard.
Yeah, early in the
he kind of knocked me down, and it was the fifth. It was the round that I knocked him out, and he it was a sort of flash knockdown. Then when I was on the floor, he hit me with a big shot, and that really, I was like, oh, spaced me out. But then I chinned him like 20 seconds later, so it worked out.
Yeah, it worked out all right. And you go from, because that was a sensible opponent in the sense that he was, I think he was about 36, 37 at the time.
Yeah.
He was 6'3", he wasn't like a monster. And when you look at, Usyk, potentially stepping up, they're looking at guys of that kind of size for his initiation.
I think they're talking about Carlos Takam as his next
opponent.
I've seen that. I'm not sure if that's happening. To be a good opponent, I used Carlos Takam as a chief sparring partner when I fought Derek Chisora, and he's a handful.
Remember you saying, he's
a real handful. He just keeps coming, and it will show whether Usyk can deal with a real heavyweight, because Takam is a real heavyweight. He's a big, solid guy with a solid chin, and I think that'll show people if he can mix in the heavyweight division. I think he needs to generate a little bit more power with his shots. He's super skillful. He's got you can't teach him any more skills than he's got. I think the reason why I was able to have the success I did at heavyweight was because I was able to gain the big man's respect by hitting him with a hard shot. The big guys are used to sort of coming forward and walking in shots, but when you hit a big man and it shakes through his boots, he thinks, oh, I can't just walk forward now. Or every time he jabs you, you slip and counter him. It stops him punching. Can Usyk counter to the point where he hurts the heavyweight and stuns him and stops him punching? I had a thing where I was able to stop and nullify my opponent by punishing him, and I did it in the first 2 rounds. So I'd have to hit him as hard as I can after when he's jabbed me. When he throws a jab, just trying to impose his size. As soon as he puts his hand up, you slip inside and crack him, and do it a couple of times. He then thinks, okay, I can't really jab anymore, and then he's already on he's where you want him to be. You can start playing from then. Then you can relax, drop your hands, and bait him out, and then really counter him. I think Usyk has the ability to do that, but you have to get into range to do it. You can't run away all the time. Sometimes you've got to come into the danger zone and really land some big shots. Usyk has shown that he's got all the skills. He beat all the guys as an amateur, Olympic gold medalist. He won all the belts at cruiserweight. His fight. But then again, Sam said that the fight he had with Tony Bellew. I had Tony Bellew winning that fight. So he can be outboxed. He can be outboxed, and Tony Bellew is a similar size to him. So it's a really interesting one. I think if anyone's going to go on to the heavyweight division and be the cruiserweight and heavyweight, because there's only me and Evander Holyfield who's ever been cruiserweight champion, then heavyweight. I think for the moment he's the only guy who can do it soon, other than Okolie. I think Okolie,
big guy, isn't he?
He's a massive guy, and I think of all the cruiserweights outside of Usyk, I think Lawrence is the guy who has the frame. He has the punch power. I've watched him do some amazing rounds of sparring behind closed doors, and he's so much bigger than me. I've stood there. He's literally 2 inches
really
taller than me,
guy,
wider than me, longer arms. I'm thinking, this guy can be a 2-weight world champion. I'm positive about it. He can take a shot as well. A lot of tall, skinny guys can't really take a shot, but he can take a shot. So I think of all the heavyweight, as good as Usyk is, I think Okolie has the physical attributes to go further than him. Obviously, he's only a novice now, and he's only had the Commonwealth champion. But once he starts challenging for these world titles, I think he's going to be the next guy. If it can't be Usyk, I definitely think Lawrence is the next guy. He's a little bit behind in terms of where he is in the pecking order of the cruiserweight division, but he's the next danger man.
Because obviously,
I said it here first. Remember, I said that here. Remember, I said that here first.
Because you've got obviously Usyk and Gassiev moving up to heavyweight, which leaves a few gaps. You've got like Andrew Tabiti and Dorticos, sort of who performed well in the Super Series. Lawrence is looking to step up, but they think against an old Denis Lebedev. I mean, you won the European title and had, I think, 4 defences in about a year. Do you think, Carl, we're slightly in danger of moving, because of the gaps that have appeared with like yourself retiring, Tony, and all the rest of the guys we mentioned at the top of the show, in danger of trying to rush those young guys to fill those gaps before they're ready?
I'm not sure, and that's the job of a good management team and a good promotional outfit behind you. Like, boxers, and I've always said it, boxers will fight anyone, and it's about getting the right fights at the right time. So Lawrence Okolie, although we're talking about him and other guys moving up, he doesn't need to be pushed too far too soon. But I agree with David and what you're saying. He could definitely be a cruiserweight world champion. He's definitely got the frame to be a good heavyweight too.
For sure.
Everyone always says he's deceptive. I think because he looks tall and stringy, he's a very physically strong guy, hard to push back, and he's done as many rounds with Anthony Joshua as probably anyone in the world as well, which stands you in good stead. I suppose.
He knows what it's like to mix with the big men. And by all accounts, he's held his own against everybody. All the big guys.
So speaking of big guys, Nikolai Valuev, I can remember watching it growing up as a fan of yours in the 2000s, and then suddenly this guy comes out of the Russian mountains. When did you there must have been a point, because he's such a striking guy to look at, there must have been a point where you first heard of him, first saw him.
I went to see him fight in East London. He was actually managed by Frank Maloney many moons ago, and I was still an amateur. I was probably 15 years old at the time, and I heard about this giant. He wasn't world champion then, he was only just coming through, and I heard about this big freak show heavyweight who's 7 foot something, and he's fighting in East London. So I remember I went down there with my boxing team at Fitzroy Lodge, and I saw the size of this guy. He was only fighting a pudding, he knocked someone out, but I remember going up next to him thinking, what the hell? And then fast forward 15 years or what it was, and then I'm getting in the ring with him.
Oh, was that long ago?
Yeah, it was a real long time ago.
Wow.
You like, Haye does Frank Maloney end up managing Nikolai Valuev? How does that even come about?
Yeah,
no
good question.
But like you look at him and he's like, you think just because of the size of him and the way he looks that he's got to be a big thunderhead.
Yeah,
but he's actually pretty clever, isn't he?
He was a lot faster than I hoped he'd be.
Yeah.
I was hoping he'd be way slower than he was because he doesn't put too much weight into his shots. He's able to just kind of flick his arm out. But his arm's so heavy, that's like a regular shot for someone putting some meat into it. So it was really funny because when I was a little kid, I used to watch Rocky IV was my favorite movie when Rocky went to Russia to fight Ivan Drago, and for some reason I've always thought I'm going to fight this big Russian for the heavyweight title. I said I was going to be heavyweight champion since I was even younger than that. And over the years, whenever I visualised being heavyweight champion, it's always against some giant Russian guy. And then randomly, here I am. I had that opportunity, you know, to the WBA title. You know, so it was an amazing experience because I kind of knew walking into it. I thought, this is it. This is what my whole life's been set for, because I've said it to so many people growing up, down to be heavyweight champion of the world, you know, and I've got my own version of Ivan Drago and Nikolai Valuev. And
I remember watching the fight, and I was actually in
primary school.
No, I was with Paddy Barnes, and we watched it in Paddy Barnes's flat he had at the time, and there was a squad of us over watching it. And I'm watching the fight. I just remember the last round, we all fucking erupted like, holy shit, the big man's going
big
here.
Right hand. And you were champion had to use for most of that fight.
Yeah. No, I hit him with the one that hurt him was a big left hook. Yeah, I hurt my right hand earlier on in the fight, but I had to be really, I had to try to change my style quite a bit to sort of influence the judges and the fact that having a regular boxing match with him, he's just too big, and so I had to hit him with hard shots and then step away and stay calm and walk around him like I'm the sort of bull. Like he's the bull, I'm the matador. Just kind of just making him.
He's in the centre, just doing circles.
Exactly. So it worked the treat, and it was an awkward fight. It wasn't a tough fight. It was just a physically demanding fight. 'Cause I had to move more, and I couldn't just throw a jab like that. I had to come in, I had to feint, then come in, give my shots, and then get out and roll. So I had to do that continuously without getting hit at all, because you know. I'm effectively a cruiserweight. I was only 15 stone 7, I think, for that fight. It was 23 something stone, so he had a bit of a weight advantage. So I couldn't afford to kind of do my work and step out as he throws a big hook, get caught at the end of it. It's just too heavy and it would just done me.
And you did a lot of work to the body, because I guess you're not. I mean, his head's a massive target, but also I had
to keep hitting him in his solar plexus, but he just felt really solid. I've never hit anybody.
Do you think you hurt him to the body at all?
Nah. I remember digging him really, and it just
thick.
Yeah, it just did nothing. We kind of bounced. I was like hitting a heavy bag. It was a very strange sensation.
Yeah, to feel like you can't move somebody at all.
No.
And you're a puncher.
Whenever I think I got into like 2 or 3 clinches, and I don't even bother. I had all this hairy hair in my face. I'm like, thankfully the referee broke it, and I was able to move around, carry on with my matador move. But yeah, it's good memory. It's long time. 2000.
10 years ago.
2009.
No, sorry. 2009.
Nearly 10 years.
And you must have known, or did you know you'd done enough? Did you?
Yeah. I felt like cause I kind of count in my head how many clean punches I land on him and how many he lands on me, and I was out landing him. There wasn't a big punch output. The way I saw it, if you throw 150 punches and land 150 and he lands 100, as far as the judges are concerned, there's a lot of punches. Whereas if I threw 20 clean shots and he landed 2, that's a clear difference. I'm landing every 20 seconds and he lands once a minute. You know, it just makes it so clear for the judges. One judge actually had it a draw. The other 2 had me by, I think, 4 or 6 rounds. They both had it quite big.
That's what you often say about Fury and Klitschko, isn't it? Because everyone remembers it as a schooling, but actually it was. He won most of the rounds, but there wasn't a lot thrown by either party.
It wasn't a schooling. It wasn't that.
A lot of movement. It's hence how you score that.
People talk about that as being so one-sided, that fight, and I don't get it.
It wasn't one-sided.
I think Fury won the fight, but it was pretty close.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to when these 2 get it back on again.
Yeah.
Because you can see it from both fighters' perspective. You can see Wilder missing aimlessly in the first fight. And
Wilder Fury you're talking about?
Yeah, Wilder Fury. You can see what he'll need to do in a rematch in terms of not trying so hard and trying to get behind his boxing. And you can see also Fury learning from that fight he had,
getting better
and
after
then
the layoff.
the shots that he got caught with, will he get caught this time? Because he's been in there at that level. He went from no level to world level and nearly did it. So now he's done. Now he's got back into world level flow. He's only going to be better, but that works also for Fury. So both fighters are going to be improved, but who can improve the most? It's a really interesting fight.
I mean, Wilder hasn't shown a great deal of variety from fight to fight. Can he make those adjustments at 30, 33 now?
I'm not sure. The thing is, well, yeah, why not? It's like he's not an old heavyweight at that age.
How many miles on the clock has he got?
Yeah,
really?
Not a lot. He chins people. He puts them to sleep. Most of them. I think he's only went the distance twice, is it? In 40 fights or whatever the record is. So, but he's always so dangerous because, you know, Wilder is an aim wild by nature, but he swings from his boots. But if he lands, like, he can take any of these boys out.
He's the kind of guy that very skillful fighters can make him look very silly. And I can remember the first time seeing him look particularly silly. He was actually in the sparring video of you and him. And I know, obviously, selective clips are put out, you know, that favour one side or the other. But it looked as if, you know, you were dealing with him well in sparring. That was a few years ago.
He's got... when he's wild when he normally has people hurt. You can't just be wild at world level. You get knocked out. I mean, he has been knocked out for a reason, because I think his worst fight technically was the Fury fight. I've never seen him literally come in. He was coming over the shot and missing. His timing was way out. I think he really wanted it so much. But this was the first fight he was in there against someone
who can move their feet.
And someone who he didn't really fear. Against Louis Ortiz, I think he feared him a little bit because he was a bogeyman. He was a southpaw, he was Cuban, he had a load of amateur fights. So he was a real danger man for him. So he switched on. He was really jabbing well and he was working. He got hurt a couple of times, but he was able to close the show. With Fury, he didn't walk in there with that same fear. It looked like he walked in there just went, as soon as I hit him on the chin, I'm going to knock him out. He kind of maybe started reading his own press clippings and didn't really realise the reason why he's been successful in the past is because he's got a great jab.
I've always said this.
His jab's fantastic, but he didn't use it in that fight.
He's a much better
I've
jabber.
been in there, believe me. I've been there with some great jabbers, and his jab is world class. You know, hard jab, straight shots. He wasn't throwing straight shots. He was throwing all hooks. And I think he'll watch the fight back and go, ugh, I could have made this way easier. But it's not going to be easy next time because Fury's going to be better. He's going to be better, and Fury's going to be better. So that's why I just want to see how much better both fighters can be. It's going to be a great fight.
Do you think he took that early because he thought Fury was kind of still on the ascendancy and he thought he could catch him before he kind of hit his peak again?
Well, probably. Again, I think it's down to teams making fights, though. I think he'd have taken it whenever. And I think that there's a lot of money on the table. I don't think Wilder was probably too concerned, really, at the time. Like, I'm going to get Fury now before he gets any better. I want to knock him out. I think, although I give Fury the last fight, if they do fight again, Wilder will still think at this point in time that he can beat Tyson Fury. What
did you make of him as a guy when you met him? Did you speak to him much when you sparred him? Deontay Wilder?
Yeah, he came over for 2 of my training camps. He came over for the Klitschko fight and then the Tyson Fury fight that got aborted.
Nice guy.
Great guy. Plenty of energy, plenty of fun. We did loads of stuff behind he wasn't just a sparring partner, he really helped me with my training. Like, he'd put the body pad on, we'd work on drills. So he was really involved heavily in assisting me and getting the best out of me. I remember back then, I think it was he had 25 or 26 fights unbeaten at the time. So he was still he was still like considered a prospect. He hadn't fought any big names. But yeah, I could see, and everybody in there knew, like, this guy is going to be world champion one day. And it was just nice to have someone like dangerous, like every spot. If I left my chin hanging out, I had to be as focused for sparring as I would be for any one of my fights, because he was going for the knockout in every round. But once the bell finished, hey, we're cool again. But it was nice to switch me on. You get some sparring partners, you go out, take a couple of jabs and just try to get a feel for it, like block. Nah, none of that. You just get sparked if you do that with him.
Is it good to sometimes have that fear in sparring?
Of course, I think that's when you perform best in sparring. If you're sparring guys who are beneath your level constantly, sometimes they'll end up getting the better of you because you're like just going through the motions and not really caring too much, and maybe not wanting to take advantage of the lesser guy, so they clip you with shots you would normally get clipped with against a very good fighter. So when you're fighting good guys, you're definitely, you have to switch on a lot more. And I can't speak I can't speak for David, but you have to switch on for Wilder. You know, he's a serious puncher.
Believe me, I know.
Yeah.
You're watching TKO, together with 32 Red.
Now, though, here's Russell Kane with news of something else from Joe.
I'm Russell Kane. This is Boys Don't Cry, the show where we perv in on men's secret thoughts and men and women get to hear exactly what we really think. Every week, I have a panel of 2 men and 1 lady auditor, just in case we stray into stereotypes which she can dispel with inside knowledge. So make sure you subscribe to Boys Don't Cry wherever you get your podcasts. I find mine in the garden.
Cheers, Russell. Welcome back to TKO here on Joe, round 9, with former heavyweight world champion David Haye and Carl Frampton. When was the first time you met David?
Do you remember?
Is it the 2001 Belfast?
2001 Belfast.
Remembers?
That's good that he remembers, because I've told him a story before. That's a funny story. So I'll tell the story. It's pretty funny. So 2001 was I 14, but as a 14-year-old I looked like I was 10, and I was over. Some of the boys from actually my dad was like volunteering, because if you volunteered and helped out, you got free tickets to all the shows. So I got like a week and a half off school to go to all the fights.
Was this in between being a lemonade salesman?
In between that. I hadn't started that job yet.
Oh, sorry, that's later down the line.
Anyway, I was in the canteen and I was sitting with my dad and someone else, can't remember who else was there. And David was on the table next to me with Carl Frampton. Oh, you got a silver and Frampton got a bronze, is that right? Yeah. So I'm sitting there, and David was only a kid at the time. Well, 18, 19.
Yeah, right.
So I didn't know who he was, but I had heard of Courtney Fry.
Oh, this is the Worlds, of course.
Yeah, the Worlds and Belfast. So I got up, plucked up the courage to go over and ask David, "How you doing, David?" I was like trying to get my little program saying. I didn't say David because I didn't know who he was, but it says, Are you Courtney Fry? And he was eating. He just went, "No, I'm the other one." And then I just continued eating, and I went and sat down and said, wow.
So bad,
Don't worry about it.
That's amazing.
It was a long time ago.
What are the chances? And then we were. How many years later then? 15 years later, you end up in the same camp together.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Both getting trained by Shane McGuigan. You was already been trained by Shane. I'd watched his progress, and when I was looking for a trainer, Shane was top of the list. I'd seen what he'd done with you. I'd seen your style, the way you moved, the punch variety. I thought I like me some of that, and obviously worked with Shane, and it worked great.
Yeah,
really enjoyed the energy in the gym. And
I enjoyed it too.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it. See, the big man here, he gets, probably be fair in saying, you would get a bit of stick on social media from time to time, but knowing you, it's like David's so generous. He's like a top guy, really nice guy, very generous, looked after me, felt like he kind of took me under his wing a wee bit as well, so that's something I appreciate, man.
Oh, pleasure, mate.
I guess that sort of like the public response to you depends on how much you decide to put yourself out there. I mean, we've seen Anthony Fowler kind of, he put a picture of a pie up and said, "I'm having some humble pie, I'm serving myself some after what happened this weekend." Listen, we saw the way you put yourself out there in the build-up to the Klitschko fight and some of the others. Did you make a conscious decision to become almost like a slightly polarising character to push your career?
Yeah, 100%. One thing I realised over the years is, as sad as it is, being a good boxer and getting good results isn't enough. You need more than that. There are many fighters, many world champions who earn peanuts because they don't have a fan base. They don't have an emotional connection with the fans. You need fans. I said it before. You need fans to either really like you and want to support you, want to pay money to see you win, or you want people to pay money to see you lose, or pay money to having it in the middle where they don't really care isn't putting any money into the event, which means you don't get paid anything. So after the Macronelli fight, I then had to really switch it on in terms of I'm now moving to the heavyweight division. I'm a cruiserweight champion, and I've just filled out the O2 Arena. That means I'm generating the money now. It's time to then start screaming and shouting. So then I had to switch the haymaker on full maximum strength, and it worked. Chasing around Vladimir and doing all that stuff. It really generated the hype and really got my name out there. Some people thought I was a dick. Some people thought it was funny. But either way, people felt something. People knew who I was because it was like the back page news. And I just continued it throughout my career, and it seemed to work a treat.
That just, it reminded me, you see the Klitschko stuff on Sky? where you're talking about his Borat voice, and he's going to shake the hand, David. But you're laughing. He's trying not to laugh, but you were laughing, definitely laughing.
It was a good TV. People want that. That's why WWE is so popular. It always has been. It's because people want to see big characters saying things, doing things.
Your mate Andy Shepherd's on the way to WrestleMania at the moment, isn't he? I went to uni with him.
You know what?
Yeah, good friend of mine. Yeah,
good guy.
He is.
But he'll tell you himself, people want to see the hero and the heel. They want to see, people who don't like each other. No one's interested in two people who respect each other and want to hug each other before the fight. Good luck. I hope I don't hurt you. I don't hurt you too. No one wants that. People want to see genuine conflict. That's what boxing is, essentially. It's two guys fighting each other. And everybody likes to see, Mickey Ward and Arturo Gatti. That's one of those rare occasions when you get two guys with no animosity whose styles gelled 3 times to the point where it was some of the greatest fights you've ever seen in life. It's so rare that happens. But Floyd Mayweather, Nassim Muhammad, these Mike Tyson, guys who've got very controversial careers and stuff that happens behind the scenes just converts into cash for everybody around.
Could have happened with me and Leo Santa Cruz, but the fucker won't fight me for a third time. I've been trying long enough. I'm giving up.
Do you think it's not going to happen?
Don't know. Well, same with Top Rank now, so the Oscar Valdez fight is probably the more realistic one, but I can't kind of wait on Leo Santa Cruz and let him dictate my career.
Yeah, but if you can nab a belt off Valdez, then that will tempt Santa Cruz into the third one.
Why?
There's your thinking. I should have been a promoter.
Yeah.
We'll come on to that in a minute because that's obviously your latest venture. I guess at that point though, when Vladimir Klitschko had reigned for so many years, those kind of actions and that sort of outrageous behaviour with the heads on the sticks on T-shirts and the game that you brought out. I got that, by the way. Couldn't believe it. I thought, I'm buying this, but everyone buys into it.
Yeah.
But it was a welcome antidote for a very, very stale heavyweight division that had been that way for a long time, really.
Yeah, of course. I think it always brings something to the mix and adds something to the heavyweight division, which was kind of boring for a while, and then it got boring again there for a few years, and then like Fury and stuff and Wilder come on the scene when they're knocking guys out. The Klitschko reign was pretty boring.
Like the wilderness years, weren't they, really?
I tell you, Klitschko's best fight, I'd say, was the Anthony Joshua fight. In terms of excitement, entertainment. But it took him to get to 40-odd years old for that to happen. But it's a shame that, the fight that entertained everybody the most, he lost. He unfortunately lost that fight. But fortunately for Joshua, it showed the new generation. The universe can't have a 40-year-old beating a young, undefeated young lion like Joshua. So I think the right guy won the fight, and off the strength of that really brought heavyweight boxing back, because it was a massive event in Germany, in America, over here. It was huge. I sold out Wembley. So I think that was putting boxing was back then. On that night, it was really back. AJ was huge anyway, but that just solidified him as one of the all-time biggest pulls in the heavyweight division.
Yeah, we had to show a lot that night, didn't he, in terms of resilience.
And he hadn't had to up until that point. No. He had a little scare against Dylan White. He wasn't knocked down, but he was really hurt in this fight. Yeah. And a lot of people wasn't sure. I wasn't sure. I assumed he had what it took, but I didn't know. I was looking at him as an opponent at that time, thinking, I'll do this, I'll do that. And he got drilled real hard, but he smiled, he got up and he turned the tables.
Yeah.
And that's what a true champion is.
You have to have a real gut check.
Yeah.
And even boxers are looking, right, Olympic champion, and he's a big lad and he's brilliant, but there's still them questions about heart until someone gets hurt. Yeah. And he showed tremendous courage.
Does he get back up and walk back into the firing line, or does he stay down? Does he find a way to get out of the fight? And he stood up and thought, okay, you want to play this game? Okay, you want to play rough? Okay.
Yeah, incredible. Unbelievable. I mean, because you got hit with that big Klitschko right hand a couple of times, but I think your style lends itself to taking the sting out of shots much more than Joshua's. If he gets hit flush, he gets hit flush. Yeah. How hard's that right hand, the Vladimir Klitschko?
It's very hard. It's very hard. I think the shot that he got hit with a bit higher on the head. Yeah. I moved my head quite well, and the sparring I did with Deontay Wilder really woke me up. So my reflexes are super sharp. So I didn't take anything. I took a few shots flush, but nothing that would knock me out. But he's a heavy. He's got a heavy-handed guy, and he's so big and awkward, and he's ungainly, and he puts his arms out, makes it difficult for you to get into range. And when you do, he clinches you, and he's so physically strong. He was like a whole couple sizes bigger than me. So it was an awkward fight. But he was very deceivingly fast. He had very, very quick hands.
Yeah, because that was one of the things that he'd relied on was the jab, grab for so many years. And the one time he wasn't stronger than his opponent, Joshua broke free, landed that uppercut on the inside that sent him unraveling and kind of grabbed
he developed a style against guys that are a lot smaller than himself. Yeah. So he was able, when he fought Alexander Povetkin, same thing, jab, grab,
push him down,
and when you got a big, rock solid 18-stone man pushing you down, it's a lot of weight, and he was able to do it for so long that became his style. So he tried to do that against AJ. AJ's the same size. You can't play that game with him. Whereas AJ doesn't do that. AJ stands and fights you like you should do. And Klitschko wasn't able to match him fight for fight and end up getting chin. So it's good that AJ's developed a style which is very fan friendly. Yeah. A lot of heavyweights use their size and hold and lean, but he stands there and lets his hands go. Which is fun for everyone watching. It's easy to be a fan of someone who fights with the style that he's got.
So, I mean, this round robin that we're currently being dragged through the muck with Wilder, Fury and AJ, we know obviously on different TV networks now, different promotional entities, a lot of back and forth about money. Is it frustrating as a guy who, and I know you miss fights through injury, but this isn't that. This is actually people actively moving away from fights and not making them happen when really they could just happen. What's it like for someone that's kind of now got the promoter's hat on?
It's boxing. You get whenever there's a fighter who can generate tens of millions, the people within the teams want to continue that journey because every time they fight, they get a cut, they get a percentage. So do they want to put their cash cow in a fight where it's a 50-50 fight, or do they want an 80-20 chance of winning, as then being the 8% chance of continuing their paydays throughout the years? So I'm sure all of the teams want these big fights, but they want them after they've had 5 or 6 smaller fights when they've kept getting paid. And unfortunately, boxing, as much as a sport is, it's a business. And it's not regulated like tennis or football, where Manchester United can't say I'm not playing Arsenal, right? Because you can't do it. You just have to fight. Or tennis player, you don't see Federer say I'm not playing Nadal if you don't pay me X amount. How much? Here's what it is.
Because that is the beauty of UFC, isn't it? Is that ultimately, it's got its flaws, but the best fight the best. Otherwise, they're out.
Exactly. But the thing is, you give it another 10 years and you've got Bellator and you've got these other organisations, and they're all trying to be competing with UFC, and that's what UFC is now, is what boxing used to be.
Yeah, that's true.
UFC seems kind of bigger than any of the fighters. The only time I've seen it really was when Ronda Rousey was champion, and Conor McGregor. Yeah, they're the only two names that have really kind of become bigger than the sport of the mixed martial arts of sport, and UFC's the promotional entity that have generated these two superstars, and they're very few and far between. It makes huge money, but it's not any one individual MMA fighter that earns it. It's the organisation. It's worth billions now, and I don't think any other. It'd be tough for another organisation to reach those heights, but it's so popular, it's such a grand sport, and people know when they tune in to whether it's Bellator, whether it's UFC, they're going to get value for money, because you've got these, even if a guy's 10-2 in boxing, you wouldn't really rate him that highly. Yeah. But it doesn't work like that, because the best fight the best. So often they kind of accept that not everyone can win. No one says, Djokovic isn't great because he's lost 8 matches in the last 5 years, or it happens. If the best fight the best, then everyone's evenly matched. It just depends on the day. You can get different people win at different times. And the thing I like about mixed martial arts, people accept a loss. You could get, there's so many, there's thousands of different ways you can lose. And
it's far less detrimental, the O in MMA, is in boxing.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing. I think that's why that the sport of of mixed martial arts is growing is because people aren't afraid. Like, we've got the heavyweight division at the moment. You've got 3 champions, all of them claiming they're number one. Rarely does that happen in mixed martial arts. Rarely do you have like 3 or 4 people at any one division claiming they're the best. It's like, no, they just fight each other and figure out. Yeah. We know who's the best. And I think that's why mixed martial arts has a little edge over boxing in terms of clarity to the fans. It's easy to be a mixed martial arts fan because you get to see the best fight the best all the time.
See, talking about the zero in boxing, it means a lot more, I think, in the UK than anywhere else. For an example, I was speaking to Paddy Barnes today, who lost his last fight. And he says the amount of Americans and Mexicans, although he lost to a bigger guy, but he put up a good fight and showed great courage in the fight. The amount of Americans and Mexicans who have followed him on Twitter and Instagram saying we can't wait to see you fight again has been insane. But UK fighters like, you get beat, you're shit. That's you on the scrap.
There are certain fighters. I mean, Gabriel Rosado is probably the best example in recent times of a fighter who's lost multiple fights. And he's lost 11 or 12 now against really top opposition, all in their prime. And his stock, relatively speaking, hasn't really dropped. Khan is of course another one. He's lost a lot of high-profile fights. His stock is still kind of sky high in the grand scheme of things. Still getting big fights, but we're still some way from getting away from that stigma attached to the O in boxing. What do you think is there anything that can change that?
Just people, the fans need to stop being so harsh when a fighter loses. For instance, let's just say Anthony Joshua has the mega fight against Deontay Wilder, for instance. And it's a 50-50 fight, close fight. Both get knocked down, and then one wins on a split decision. Okay, is the other one terrible? His career's over, he's finished, he needs to retire. Yet the other one who won on a split decision, he moves forward, and no, it's like a close fight. You could put 3 other judges, might have a different decision. Just because the end result says one thing doesn't mean that's who you are. You're not a loser because just one judge had it one way or another. So you can't say someone's a loser. They just lost that particular fight, and you can always come back and do it again. I think people need to start. People really, when you're at the top level, multiple fights against the best. That's why Lennox Lewis fighting Tyson Holyfield twice. He didn't get that fight with Riddick Bowe, and that fight not happening kind of put a little bit of a kink in the heavyweight division of that area, of just one fighter not fighting, because we don't know how it would have happened. I think Lennox would have won, but Riddick Bowe was a great fighter. We never know. He beat him in Olympic finals, but we wanted to see it as a pro. We didn't get to see that. I really hope this era doesn't have that same missing link, because outside of Riddick Bowe, everyone seemed to have fought everybody,
because it is booming right now. We're at a point where there's more money in the sport than ever before. There are more opportunities transatlantically for UK fighters probably than ever before. Your man is now Derek Chisora. Didn't think I'd be saying that 3 years ago, and neither did you. Surely.
No, I didn't think so. But Derek, he kind of must have looked at his career, looked at where he was, looked at what he could do, and may have looked at my career and thought, I think David could assist guiding me, the right path, not only in the ring, but also outside of the ring. Strength and conditioning, his nutrition, from sleeping hours, all literally I try to give her as much assistance as I can. So he just needs to focus on waking up, eating what he's supposed to eat, going to the gym, who drives him to the gym, how long that takes, what route he takes. There's a million different things that can take the stress away from a fighter.
That's more a mentor than a manager, though, isn't it?
Yeah, mentor, manager. I've been through it. I know what it's like. I know how it feels to, have to cook your food after training. You got to, take your supplements and have your protein shakes and do all these so many different things. And a fighter just needs to worry about getting in the ring fighting. So putting an infrastructure around him where he can get the best out of himself. And we've teamed up with Dave Caldwell, who's done wonders in the short time he's been with him. I was watching him sparring the other day, and a lot of Derek Chisora's past flaws or things I'd say were weaknesses, Dave's really started to build his armory. So he's moving his head, he's throwing good counter punches, he's not so square on, he's just looking like the very best version of Derek Chisora. I mean, he's a need to be, because Seinad Gashi is a bit of a handful. He took a fight, Derek's opponent, on the 20th of April at the O2 Arena. He took on
Carlos Sackam, wasn't it?
Carlos Takam on 2 days' notice.
And you know all about Carlos Takam.
Yeah, Carlos Takam's, so does Derek. He's a right handful. So he took him on 2 days' notice and gave a good account of himself. He got stopped, but he wasn't fit. He only had 2 days' notice for the fight. This time around, he's had like 6-7 weeks' notice. He's in shape. He's coming to fight, and he really wants it. So Derek hasn't got a knockover job, as they call it in the game. He's got a real tough fight. Could go 10 rounds, and this guy's really coming to win. And we'll see how the combination of the strength conditioning with Ruben Tabarez, his coach, is working with his coach Danny up in Rotherham, Sheffield. So we'll see how it's all sort of materialised. And I think that we're going to see something special. And I don't think the Derek Chisora journey is. I think it's just starting. I think he showed in his last fight against Dylan White, going 11 rounds. He was leading on the scorecards after having a couple of points deducted. Yeah. He showed that he belongs at that level. If Dylan White is considered the #1 contender, which he is,
Derek was beaten
then he was beaten up to 11 rounds. So, obviously it's a 12-round fight.
Yeah.
But it showed he belongs in and around that level. You can't say he doesn't after that. So I think now he's better than he was for that fight. Physically, technically, tactically, he's a better shape now than he was for that last fight. So I think he's in amongst the world level, and we want to just show people.
Here's one for you. Like knowing you and knowing you can read a fight well, and tactically you know what you're talking about, and even just listening to you here, you can tell that. You're managing now. Would you ever train a fighter?
To train a fighter, it takes maybe more time and energy than I have realistically. It takes as much time as much energy as the fighter. I've sacrificed X amount of years for professional boxing, and if I wanted to be a world-class coach, I'd need to be in the gym every single day. I'd need to be studying tapes. I need to be, watching his sprints, watching his weight training, making sure. Because whenever I do something, I kind of immerse myself in it and want to be the very best at it. And at the moment, I don't think I've got enough time to do it. I don't, because you wouldn't.
When
want
I
to
get
do
asked that question, that's the exact answer I give.
Anyone can say, "Yeah, I'm your trainer. Yeah, great." And throw a jab. Yeah, left hook. Yeah. It takes more than that. You have to live and breathe it. You really have to live and breathe it. You've got to take the punches. You've got to be in there. You've got to be with them, watching every single sparring, every pad session, every shadow box, and you've got to watch it. You've got to record it, go home and watch it more. If you're the best. This is what Dave Caldwell does. Dave Caldwell lives and breathes it.
It's unreal.
He's at home. He watches the sparring. He watches the opponent. He watches, he watches historical fight. He understands it. He lives and breathes it, and that's all he does. And that's why it's so successful.
Yeah.
So I think I could be a good trainer.
But you'd have to give up everything else.
I'd have to give up everything else. And, I've put enough into this game of boxing.
You put enough into table tennis and
exactly,
poker.
Exactly. So at the moment, I think that to be the very best coach, it takes a hell of a lot of time and energy.
How did you reconcile your differences with Derek? Did it sort of all subside after the fight, or did you have to have a conversation?
No, I've never. After we had our fight, Upton Park, we had a clear winner, and that was it. Since that point, there's never really been any beef in any sense. I've seen him out and about. We hang out in the same places. We know similar people, same people, and we've got friends in common. And we see each other out. We always super polite and super cool with each other. Obviously, there's that rival thing. You're a boxer, I'm a boxer. We were both active boxers at the time. But I think it must have taken a lot for him to, a lot of mental strength for him to say, "I tell you what, David, after all we've been through, could you help me take to that next level?" And you've got to respect the man who puts his potential, whatever differences he may have had, to the side to look to progress himself. A lot of people cut their nose off to spite their face, and of course their ego, they don't want to be seen to want anyone else's help. But I think he got to a point where he thought, okay, I know I'm world class. I want to take it to that next level, and it showed in his last fight that he was so much better in his last fight against Dylan White than he was against Carlos Takam. Although he got the win against Takam, he got battered for most of that fight. But this fight, he was winning the fight. So I think it showed that he's done the right thing. and the whole infrastructure around him now is that of a world-class athlete. Now, I think he was playing at box up to that point. He trained when he was in the gym, but outside of the gym, he wasn't really living the life as he should do. And this time round, he knows this is kind of his last chance. He's 35 years old. He can't afford to have any losses now. He knows, he wants a real run at this heavyweight title. The heavyweight division's amazing. There's so much money. There's so much prestige. There's so many eyes on the heavyweight division. There's just three people who considered number one. So there's plenty of routes, and they all need big opponents.
Who's your number one?
My number one at the moment, I'd say, is Anthony Joshua, for the simple fact he's undefeated. Yeah. He doesn't have a draw.
Who's the best of the three?
I think I genuinely think on their day, each of them have the ability to beat the others. I think Tyson Fury has the ability to outbox both Wilder, which he kind of did for most of the fight, and AJ. AJ. I think AJ can blast both of them out if he catches them on the chin, and the same thing for Wilder.
Yeah.
I think they've all, on their day, they all have the ability and the skill set to do it. I just think Anthony Joshua has had the toughest path so far, and he's proven in the ring what he can do. It's not about potential that he has. He hasn't had any draws. He hasn't had any close fights. The only fight he got dropped, he got back and knocked the guy down. Knocked out Klitschko.
Yeah.
So on paper, he's fought the tougher guys. He fought Joseph Parker, who was undefeated, who was a champion. He unified Povetkin as well. Done an absolute number on him. So every time he's been stepped up, he's passed the test with flying colours. So has the other two.
Yeah.
But they've both had a close fight against each other. So I can only judge them on their record. They both got a draw. There was no winner. There was no loser, but there was no winner. They both had a fight where there was no winner. That's not happened to AJ. So just on looking at their records, I'll go with the guy who's never had a draw, because there's an argument this way. Yeah. There's no argument with Joshua at the moment. But he hasn't fought anyone as good as Wilder or Fury yet. So but it's just it's all up in the air.
It is, you're right. Question for you then. Chuck a prime David Haye into the heavyweight mix. So we're saying, listen, I'm going to let you decide what your prime was. I'm going to say probably around the sort of 2012 mark, the Lick and Valuev fight, something like that. At heavyweight, would you say? Or maybe a little bit later? When do you feel like your peak year was as a heavyweight?
I'd say...
when you were champion, presumably.
I'd say physical peak. It's tough. I don't know.
Let's say whatever
I'd say
version it is.
Valuev was where I was able to do what I needed. It wasn't a physical... it was more of an athletic performance opposed to a tough boxing match. I didn't take many punches in that fight. I'd say around about that point against Aldi Harrison, I was really in good nick for that one.
How does he get on?
I think similar to his answer a minute ago, like if you fire a prime David Haye into the mix against prime Fury, Wilder, Joshua, I think they all have the ability to beat each other on their nights, and it's one of them ones. They all fight each other 10 times. It could be 5 all. Yeah. One of them ones.
You can make an argument for either of us to beat any of us. It nearly happened with Fury. We nearly got that.
To have seen it.
But if that would have happened and I would have won, everyone would have said he was too young then. He was only 21 at the time. So so even if I would have done, it would never have.
There's always caveats.
There's always caveats in everything. But it's just good that we have the three guys in the same era at the moment, similar sort of ages. They're both hungry. They're all undefeated. So it's just a very healthy time.
They could all fight each other 2 or 3 times. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We hope this is what happens. You talk about like Ali and Frazier and Foreman and stuff.
Yeah.
You're going back a long time, man.
Ken Norton,
but like
some great fights.
Why not? Why not have 2 fights, 3 fights?
Yeah.
Why not?
That'd be lovely, wouldn't it?
It'd be great. It'd be great for boxing, and that all fighters have such big, engaging personalities. All of the fighters are superstars. You know, all of them. You look at Wilder. He's just such a big personality. Even without the cameras rolling, even when he's in the gym he's a massive personality. He's a fun guy. He's just a great guy to be around. And I haven't spent much time with Fury, but apparently he's the same. He's a right laugh. And AJ's AJ. It's just a great time to be in amongst the heavyweight division.
Are you able in retirement now to just relax a bit and enjoy the company of those other guys? Because is there an element that when you're an active fighter, you have to be guarded around people who are your competition?
Nah, not really. I've always been quite relaxed. I've never really felt, I never really felt, even like for instance with when Wilder was in the gym, he was a young heavyweight up and coming. I didn't really, I didn't think anything of it. He was helping me out in sparring. I knew there'd possibly be a chance. He'd then, obviously after 25 or whatever his record, 25 fights unbeaten, he could be the next guy. He was thinking of coming up the rankings at the time, but I never treated him any differently because of it. I always, what will be. Yeah. And and
here we are.
The heavyweight division is the division where anything can happen. Any opponent. The fact that I'm managing Derek Chisora now. Who would have thought that could happen? Who would have thought I'd have fought Tony Bellew and lost twice? Yeah. Anything could happen in the heavyweight division.
When you put it like that,
it's just so all over the place. But that's what that makes the heavyweight division.
Just speaking about Chisora there, and talking about him being like a proper professional now. Yeah. A proper professional Derek Chisora is a very exciting ingredient into the mix here.
Yeah. You think after that second Fury fight, I can remember it was just quite a while ago now, I'm just thinking we're not going to see him again.
He wasn't in shape.
Here we are 5 years later, and he's in better shape and with better prospects.
He wasn't in shape for that fight. You could see it. He was undermotivated. He was just going through the motions. And that guy's gone now. That guy is completely gone. He's got a spin bike in his apartment. He lives up in Sheffield. He's living like a real professional. It's crazy to think that he's been a professional for 12 odd years. But now he's only finally the last, before the Dylan White fight, is the first time he really started to take things seriously. Yeah. He came down to my gym. He did the sessions. I was doing the sessions with him. And he was living and breathing. I could see it. You could see it in his body shape. Everything changed. And I'm sure he'll wish he did that years prior. But everything happens for a reason. Here we are. Yeah. And he's at a stage now where he can really do something special. We haven't seen people where I've seen it behind closed doors. Dave Colbell's seen it. Not very many people have seen him in the shape he's at. Throwing the shots he can throw he can throw combinations from start to finish.
Yeah,
he never used to be able to do that. He used 3 or 4 combinations. He was walking forward, taking shots, wasn't moving his head, sort of blocking punches with his face. Now he's slipping, countering. He's a completely different animal, and as you said, he's a problem for people. Yeah. He'll be a real problem.
It's going to be very interesting. We'd love to get you and him on the show together at some point to talk about your history and the journey you took together. Would you be up for that?
Yeah, of course.
That'd be great. We'll speak to Derek.
Couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all right. I'll forego my fee for the day. It's fine. Before we go, we do this thing called the 32-second challenge with 32 Red. So it's 32 seconds. I'm going to read you a list of single words, and I need you to think of the first thing that comes into your head and just say it out loud. Can you do that for me? Right, okay. I'm just going to check that our producer Si's got the stopwatch ready. He has. Okay, 32-second challenge. Here we go. Peabody Estate.
Bermondsey.
Fitzroy Lodge.
Child.
Carl Thompson.
Warrior.
Valuev.
Giant.
Winning a world title.
Destiny.
John Ruiz.
Tough as our boots.
Millwall.
Hooligan.
Audley Harrison.
Good friend.
Klitschko.
Holding.
Chisora.
War.
Joshua.
Classy.
Frampton.
I was going to say.
Go on, what are you going to say? Time is up. But I'm going to let you. I'm starting, so I'll let you finish.
I was going to say no. I can't.
What were you going to say? Absolutely, you have to now. You have to now.
No. Carl Frampton.
Come on, David.
You have to tell me after.
Yeah.
Midget.
Oh, come on.
What do you mean? Come on. I wouldn't have thought that was bad.
Table tennis.
Table tennis. We'll get you guys playing a game next time.
See if I'm known just for my table tennis exploits, I'll die a happy man.
I'm not convinced you're as good as everyone says.
No, he is, trust me.
He's all right. Well, listen, what a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing. And good luck to Derek on the 20th of April as well at the O2, isn't it?
Still some tickets left, so get down. You know it's going to be a great fight.
Master promoter.
Many thanks to David Haye. We'll be back in 7 days' time, as always. Remember to check out our other episodes here on Joe. Other shows as well, House of Rugby with James Haskell, Mike Tyndall and Alex Payne. And, of course, Boys Don't Cry with Russell Kane. This has been TKO Round 9, done and dusted. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in 7 days' time.
You've been watching TKO on Joe, together with 32 Red.